All right, so we have Dr. Brett, we have Eileen. Thank you guys both for setting aside a time to go through some information. Dr. Brett, I wanted to first just start off with can you give us like a brief overview of what you do, who you are, and like your occupation and what you do on a daily basis?
No, I appreciate that, Waitis. And I remember the first time I met you and just the name of your business. Like, I just love the name of Unfair Advantage because I think a lot of the information that I grew up with, that it's unfair that people don't have it. Like, it's kind of a unique perspective. My dad was going to be a dentist. He got injured. He got carried in by his cousin to a chiropractor's office. And the chiropractor got him back walking again. And from that, he ended up going to chiropractic school. And then we got out of school, like, those he couldn't help it drove him crazy. And so he started studying nutrition, supplementation, formulation, psychology about emotional work and stress management, exercise physiology, all these extra things, just because we wasn't able to help somebody, it just, he wanted to help people like he was helped. And so
Yeah,
I grew up under that philosophy, and I really was surprised that people didn't know about it. I thought everybody knew that, hey, if you were hurting or if you were stressed or couldn't sleep, you got adjusted, you learned some breathing exercises, you exercised, and you got better. Like I didn't know what medication was.
uh,
Um, it wasn't anything I was raised with. And so when I would talk to my friends, I would always tell my dad, my friends to go see my dad for whatever problem they had, whether it was like headaches or a migraine or they couldn't get pregnant or whatever it was. Like I think, if you just understand how the body works and understand your part in that, you can stack the odds in your favor. And so I went to school and I graduated in 2001. And so I've been teaching and training physicians since 95 with my dad. So I've been in his office since I was 14. And so my background began in the kind of the chiropractic, massage, craniosacral side. Then studied in school a lot of the chiropractic neurology, got into neurofeedback a lot. I'm doing a lot of concussions and sports injuries. And then I do a lot with stress management. I love talking about emotional stress and how you can change that. And then my background a lot in nutritional formulation. So like we call it the 6 steps to wellness is what we do. And so I just love meeting people like you that's like they've got this, very unique niche and they just like figured and this the name unfair advantage. Like what do we do to stack the odds in our favor? And there's the time in the life we live, where people are looking for that thing that'll give them that edge, whether that's in sport performance or whether that's a mom or a dad or whoever it might be, that they can, you know, really have the advantage of having the health they want so they can do the things they love.
oh, 100%. Love it. You know, I have a core set of beliefs that I think we probably share at least the top three. And one of those is that given the opportunity, most people will um make the right decisions as it pertains to their health. And they want to make the right decision, especially after they get through a certain sickness or an injury. I think one of the biggest hurdles and obstacles that people run into is that there's so much information out there. You know, 2024, we have tons and tons and tons. I mean, just the internet and technology, and the level at the speed at which information can be derived and sought after, it's everywhere. What is your best recommendation for helping people sort out the nutritional information? I want to get healthy. I want to be I want to optimize my movement or my just overall health in general. How do you sort it out for people to find the best options and make sure that they're going in the right direction?
That's a great question. My wife and I actually are having this discussion today, because of how accessible information is, and it's we're talking about just these Instagram followers and stuff like that. And my thought is always, one, do they live? Do they live it? And how do they gain the knowledge that they have? Right? What experiences have they gone through to lead them where they are? And there are a lot of people that don't have degrees that are phenomenally knowledgeable. So don't get me wrong that way. But like, what's the skin they have in the game? And I know for me personally, like I've lived this way since I was born. And like, so when I'm talking about what I'm recommending, I've either used it or I've experienced it or I've been around it. And I think that's one of the things we need to ask people. Like, you have people ask, like, what are the sources? And, kind of follow the money a little bit. And really, does it resonate? Does it make sense? And it's giving you your power back. Like, so when I'm looking at the information that's out there, I'm always kind of filtering it through. Like, Is it natural? Is it safe? Is it legal? Is it moral? Is it ethical? And like, who's getting paid on that? And at the end of the day, what are the results that people are having? And how much experience that they had in that. That's when I watched what you did and what I know that I've gone through. Like, it's not based on like something I just read. It's something I've read, I've learned, I've used, I've gone back to the drawing board. And so when I'm recommending things for people, whether that's vitamins, mineral supplements, or activators, like I've tested stuff for going on 30 plus years. And so I'm using what I use. Like I'm going to recommend what I use. And so when I see somebody like saying one thing and not doing it, like it always like, okay, is that really like what works?
That's big. That's big. So in that same realm of understanding what works, would you say that there's a good, better, and best? And if there
Yeah,
is, how do we decipher
perfect.
on what that is?
Yeah, I love that philosophy. I say that all the time. I'm like, good, better, best. Like, no matter where you, if you're going to eat at McDonald's, which hopefully you guys don't do that, but like, good, better, best. Like, what's the best option in the circumstance under? So, if you're limited to, $50 a month, and what you're willing to set aside for your health that month, you do the best you can with what you know. Absolutely, right. And I'm a firm believer you kind of get what you pay for, in the sense of like, so if you have $50, then get the best you can with that $50, $100, or $200. And I have people that I know spend thousands and thousands of dollars, right? But good, better, best. And so when I'm looking at supplementation, for instance, or vitamins, minerals,
Yeah,
um, are you getting what you're looking for? What I mean by that is, I'll ask all the time, what are you looking for? People are saying, well, I'm looking for energy. Okay, so are you currently getting what you want? If they're not, then you got to change something, right? And so when it comes to vitamins and minerals, and supplements, it's definitely a good, better, best out there as far as which ones work. And so my kind of filter is number one, results. Like it's got to work. And I have people come bring in buckets of stuff, and I say, hey, if you were getting what you want from what you're doing, then you wouldn't be here. So we need to make some changes to that. And it's not that I don't. I mean, I value what you've been trying to do, but if it's not working, let's make some adjustments to that. And so when I'm recommending products and or services or equipment or whatever it might be, like it's ones I've used, it's ones I've tested, and they have both what I call studies on them, in the sense of like hopefully there's research on the ingredients and hopefully research on the products, both from a scientific perspective but also in clinical settings. And so that's one of my gauges. Whereas you'll see a lot of stuff where there's like, I mean, you and I, right? If our phones are around right now, we're talking about vitamins, minerals. We're gonna have stuff popping up Facebook, getting in there, about a vitamin or mineral, and they're probably not going to get you the results you want, based upon clinical experience. And so I look at lab work a lot. And I look at like, even functionality. Like I love what you do in functionality testing. So I'm giving somebody a nutrient, an activator, or what it might be. If they're not getting the results, like it's not changing their performance, both in what they can do and also what it shows in the lab work, then I need to make some corrections. And that's why I'm really particular about, who I recommend people to or what products I recommend, because I know that it's got to move the needle
yeah.
in their performance and it's got to move the needle in the laboratory work. Otherwise, it's not working. And so I have to go back and figure out why.
Do you
And I don't
recommend?
want to guess on my teammates.
What's that?
I don't want to guess about my teammates. Like,
Oh, right, right,
I'm
right.
going to win a game. Like, I don't want to guess, like, well, someone's taking a vitamin D. I don't want to guess if this is the vitamin D that I know absorbs and does what it's supposed to do. Like, and someone's taking a vitamin D and their vitamin D is still low. I say, well, I don't want to guess if it's the vitamin D doesn't work. Maybe it's you that's not absorbing. If I know the vitamin D is works because I've
Yeah,
tested other people, I don't have to guess about that.
got it. So would you recommend everybody getting blood work of some sort?
So I tell people again, going back to that good, better, best. In a perfect world, yeah, I'd love lab work. All right, but not everybody can or will or afford that. And so if that's the case, then I come back to just the basics of, let's change diet, right? Let's work with what you're eating, that you're getting real live foods. The more live foods you're getting, the less vitamins, minerals you're going to need if they're good foods. And then let's start adding in where you're missing. And the foundation for me is getting rid of inflammation. Like no matter what you talk about, no matter what you're doing with, no matter what the doctor's called, say you have or might have or will have, it usually starts with inflammation. And
Yeah,
so there's key regulatory systems in your body that I know that we can activate to decrease that inflammatory cascade by improving how your body cleans it up. That's why I love people to exercise. Like if they would exercise, well, some problems they have will just naturally go away. If you exercise in the best way possible for you, based on what you're trying to accomplish, it'll be even better. But
Right.
I'm the same with very specific nutraceuticals.
Got it. Okay. Um, that kind of leads right into the last question that I had for you. What are the top three supplements or recommendations nutritionally that people have outside of their food? What do people need to be adding in? Top three things everybody would need. Not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain specifics on history and medical history and backgrounds. But walk
Yeah.
in. What do they need?
Yeah, I love that question because I tell people like top three things to change habit wise. One, exercise. Two, sleep. And three, clean up your foods. Like if you just do those three things from a what I do on a daily basis, and then there's a few others, stress management and sleep, then you're going to improve your health in some way. But when it comes to like what tools I'm going to use, right,
Yeah.
for me personally, if I can activate the body's ability to control the inflammatory cascade, that's number one. And so what I usually call it called the Protandim Nerve 2, because we know based on clinical studies as well as like in vitro studies that it reduces the inflammatory process in the body by an average 40% in 30 days, up to 70% in 3 months. So if I can do one thing that I can do 100% of the time, that's number one. Number two, I'm going to improve the way my cells make energy because no matter what cell you have and what part of the body you want to improve, if I can improve energy production and improvement in how the body makes energy and makes those little organelles called mitochondria, I want to do that. And that's a product called Protandim Nerve 1. And the term we use for this is called nutrigenomics and activation. It's very different than supplementation. So activation is like, I'm going to turn on the switch. It's like, no matter how clean you eat, like, please do. But if you don't lift weights at the same time, you will not build muscle the same way. So
Right.
without lifting weights, you cannot activate the muscle to build like you want it to. So that's the same thing with very specific nutraceuticals like a Protandim Nerve 2 and Protandim Nerve 1. They're designed to activate these key pathways in your cells. So Nerve 1, energy production. Nerve 2 would be that's the controlled inflammatory cascade. And then what's called NAD. You've heard this a lot in the news. NAD is something that tied into what's called autophagy, which is the word we hear a lot when people talk about intermittent fasting and cold plunges even. We're turning on this system for your body to basically recycle stuff or clean out the causes, and that's called autophagy. And so that's Protandim and NAD. Now, those would be the foundational three, what I call activators,
Okay.
right? Which activates the cells to turn on the assembly lines. And then what I say that my top three, what I call supplements, which are based because most people don't get these in their diet enough of. So
Uh-huh.
there's activation, which is one thing, and then supplementation, which is you still need to have the right things. Omega-3 fatty acids, like
Uh-huh.
it's just most people don't get enough of those, like across the board.
Yep.
Vitamin D, like when you do lab tests, I'll do 100 lab tests and I'll have one that's optimal. And what I mean by optimal, I'm saying 75 plus. The range in most labs is like 30 to 100. So I've seen up to 110. Most people are like in that 15 to 40 range. And if you want optimal, you
Okay.
want 70 plus. So that's would be the number two for me. And the number three would tie into gut health, which is enzymes and or probiotics, because most people don't eat enough raw foods
Yeah.
that you need to have to break down all your food. So from a vitamin mineral supplement, like I like multis, I like all that, but like foundationally, you want to activate and then supply the nutrients you're not getting in your diet that you have to have in order to have the cells work like they're supposed to. So that'd be my top, three-ish.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Now, okay. Bonus question. Bonus question. Given those top three, somebody does that. What is the effectiveness or the result or the feeling or all the things? What are they going to get out of doing
Yeah.
those top three recommendations?
That's a great question because you'll take some people and you'll put them on that if I'm gonna do one thing, I'll do the Protandim Nerve 2.
Okay.
Right. And some people you put on that and man, their energy changes, their flexibility changes, their ability to perform in life physically and mentally changes. And there's other people, they don't feel a thing, right?
Mm,
It doesn't mean it's not
okay.
working. So I take some of these things every day, not because of like how it makes me feel, it's
Uh-huh.
because I know what it does. Like I eat clean, not because of what I feel, but because I know what it does.
Good point.
And unfortunately, in our society, generally we wait for a problem
Yeah,
to arrive before we do something. And unfortunately, 50% of people that their first indication that their heart's having issues is they die.
right.
So I don't think you want to wait until you feel something, and that's why. And that's it. But yeah, what people will feel like they'll feel a difference, but you may not feel it week one, week two, week three. But all of a sudden you'll notice, man, I'm sleeping better. Man, I'm doing things I do. I'm more engaged with my family,
Yeah,
right? I feel like I get extra. I come home. I don't want to just lay here. I want to get up and do things. Like those are common things. Now, other that have a lot of like problems, well, they'll probably feel things sooner, right? And differently, because like, could they feel so cruddy? Um, but the only thing I would say that there are times I'm sure you've seen this when people start exercising, like they're like, oh, this hurts.
yeah,
And so when you start changing what you're doing, even from a nutrient perspective, and you start feeling a little achy or a little like fluish, that's not a bad thing. Your body is cleaning out those closets, and it's like, man, I got some stuff to get. And once you get through that, it's like, oh man, I can find stuff again. And so, just like exercise, like the first couple of days aren't going to be fun, but then you're like, man, I'm doing so much more than I was. I'm not as sore as I was. But if you don't let yourself go through that process, you won't get the benefits.
love it, love it. Gosh, I tell you what, I say there was three little questions, but that was three of the most heavy weighted, we talk about doing a workout. That was a really good nourishing workout of what to do. So if I recap everything and I understand all the things that you said, number one is we're sorting out the information, and there is a sea of information for people to go through and sort out. But if we look at resources, if we look at studies, we look at kind of follow the money, see who's getting paid off of what. There's some real good indicators as to what things are good supplements to involve and to bring into myself and to my family. Number two, good, better, and best, the things that actually work. Does it produce a result that I'm looking for? If my vitamin D is low, I'm taking XYZ supplement, my vitamin D is still low, XYZ supplement is not working. I'm not getting the result. I'm looking for energy. I'm taking XYZ. I'm not getting energy. It's not working. So very, very clear. Am I getting the result from the good, better, and best? If I'm taking something that might be good, but there's probably something better to give me that result. And then last but foremost, looking at NRF2 to create that reduction in inflammation of the overall stress of the body. NRF1 to now start to produce energy at the mitochondrial cellular level, and then getting into NAD and letting the body start to do what it wants to do to clean up the blood, clean up the system, and start functioning optimally. And if we need to add anything in, we can look at changing the things that's going on with food, sleep, exercise, start getting moving. And then if we're going to add in, we want to add in some omega-3s, because most people are lacking omega-3s and getting that good fatty acid, getting vitamin D from a really good source, and gut health, enzymes, and probiotics, getting all that together. Every single person, if you breathe air, these are things that we know that are going to help them perform and function better. Dr. Brett, thank you so much. Anything else you want to add on there? Or we feel like I know there's a lot, right? But did I miss
I
anything?
think you covered some. There's so many things really good, and the only thing that kind of popped in my head as you were talking, there are times that I'm sure you've seen this is, um, people aren't checking the results. So let's say you're doing stuff. That's why I like the lab work, because sometimes that keeps. I tell you, lab work keeps me and you honest,
Okay.
right? Because somebody says they're taking something and then their labs don't change, and I ask them how many bottles they've been through. They've been through one, and it's been 6 months. I'm like, then that's not me, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so I think there's some wisdom in having accountability, whatever that might be. And the other thing is this, um, I see this happen a lot. People start feeling better, and then they start doing more, and they still don't feel as good as they want. And that's the understanding of, you still have to rebuild from what's been torn down. If you just keep doing more,
Right.
your body doesn't have a chance to repair. So I tell, please reserve about 20% new energy for healing.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Yeah. Healing and repair. We forget about that part. All the tear down. It's like, okay, I'm feeling better. I can go back to my burning the candle at both ends. It's like, no, we're still
Yeah.
in repair mode.
I think some people are just forget that part. You got to give your body a chance to repair. And you know, with exercise,
Oh, yeah.
if someone's not getting enough sleep, it's hard to get the benefit that they want. And I'm sure people, and then just the things we're talking about here, like it's the exact same things I take. So I always like, when I look at somebody like you, I know you exercise, and I know you eat clean and you take your vitamins. Like, if you want to have what other people have, you got to do what they're doing
Right.
when it comes to physically, right? And so, that's why I appreciate you, and I know you live the life you talk about.
Yep. Love it. Great. All right.